Eddie Guerrero. Eduardo Gory Guerrero Lanes, October 9, 1967 – November 13, 2005, was an American professional wrestler and a prominent member of the Guerrero wrestling family. Guerrero performed in Mexico and Japan for several major professional wrestling promotions, and in the United States performed for Extreme Championship Wrestling, ECW, World Championship Wrestling, WCW, and most notably World Wrestling Federation/Entertainment, WWF/WWE. Guerrero's gimmick was that of Latino Heat, a crafty, resourceful wrestler who would do anything to win a match. His catchphrase became "I lie, I cheat, I steal," and was used in one of his entrance themes. He partly used this phrase in the title of his 2005 autobiography, Cheating Death, Stealing Life. Despite being a heel for most of his career, he was popular in and out of the ring and was at the peak of his career as a face during 2003-2005, becoming the top wrestler on the SmackDown brand in 2004. He experienced various substance abuse problems, including alcoholism and an addiction to painkillers. These real-life issues were sometimes incorporated into his storylines. Guerrero spent his early career wrestling in Mexican promotions and forming a popular tag team with Art Barr. After the death of Barr, Guerrero received his first mainstream exposure in the United States in 1995 by joining ECW and winning the ECW World Television Championship. Later that year, Guerrero moved to WCW, where he became WCW United States Champion, WCW Cruiserweight Champion and led the Latino World Order. He left WCW in 2000 after the company failed to elevate him to a main event spot. He moved to WWF with his WCW colleagues Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, and Perry Saturn, who formed a group called the Radicals. Guerrero went on to win the WWF European Championship and WWF Intercontinental Championship before he was released in 2001 due to addiction issues. After being rehired in 2002, he formed Los Guerreros with his nephew Chavo, winning the WWE Tag Team Championship, and established himself on the SmackDown brand. He climbed to main event status and won the WWE Championship, his sole World Championship at No Way Out 2004. He lost the title later that year but remained a popular main eventer until his death on November 13, 2005. Guerrero left an impact and legacy on the professional wrestling industry as one of the most beloved performers of his generation and an inspiration to many future professional wrestlers. He was posthumously inducted into the WWE, AAA, Wrestling Observer Newsletter and Hardcore Halls of Fame. Early life. Guerrero was born and raised in El Paso, Texas, where he graduated from Thomas Jefferson High School, La Jeff, in 1985. He attended the University of New Mexico, and then New Mexico Highlands University on an athletic scholarship. It was there that Guerrero entered collegiate wrestling before moving to Mexico to train as a professional wrestler. He followed in the footsteps of his brothers and father, who had also wrestled in Mexico. As a boy, he would attend the wrestling promotions held by his father Gory Guerrero at the El Paso County Coliseum. Guerrero's father allowed him and his nephew Chavo to wrestle each other during intermissions. Professional wrestling career. Consejo Mundial de Lucha Libre, 1987-1992. Guerrero began wrestling as the original Mascara Magica in CMLL until his departure in 1992. He then left the company to pursue a career with AAA. Although the Mascara Magica gimmick was popular, CMLL owned the rights to the character. Guerrero then appeared on a televised AAA show as Mascara Magica, only to then unmask himself along with the aid of his tag team partner that night, Octagon. Being physically attacked by the opposing tag team for doing so. Asistencia Asesoria y Administración, 1992-1994. In Mexico, he wrestled mainly for Asistencia Asesoria y Administración, AAA, teaming with El Hijo del Santo as the new version of La Pareja Atómica, the Atomic Pair, the tag team of Gory Guerrero and El Santo. After Guerrero turned on Santo and allied with Art Barr as La Pareja del Terror, the Pair of Terror, the duo became arguably the most hated tag team in Lucha Libre history. Along with Bar, Conan, Chicano Power, and Madonna's boyfriend, Guerrero formed Los Gringos Locos, the Crazy Americans, a villainous stable. Guerrero later said that no matter how many people joined Los Gringos Locos, the stable was all about Bar. Locos feuded mostly with El Hijo del Santo and his partner Octagon, eventually ending in a hair versus mask match at the first Lucha pay-per-view in America, When Worlds Collide, which they lost. Guerrero and Bar's first break would come when they were noticed in late 1994 by the owner of Extreme Championship Wrestling, ECW, Paul Heyman, and were approached about wrestling for him in 1995. Bar, however, died before he could join ECW with Guerrero. New Japan Pro Wrestling, 1993–1996. In 1993, Guerrero began wrestling in Japan for New Japan Pro Wrestling, NJPW, where he was known as the second incarnation of Black Tiger. He became more successful upon his return when he won the Best of the Super Juniors 1996 tournament of junior heavyweights. He received a shot at the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion the Great Suzuki at Skydiving J, but lost the match. Extreme Championship Wrestling, 1995. Guerrero won the ECW World Television Championship from Too Cold Scorpio in his debut match for Extreme Championship Wrestling, and went on to have a series of acclaimed matches with Dean Malenko before they both signed with World Championship Wrestling later that year. Guerrero lost the ECW Television Championship to Malenko on July 21 of that year, but Guerrero regained the title on July 28. Guerrero lost the ECW Television Championship back to Too Cold Scorpio on August 25. The next day, they had their last match, which ended in a draw in a 2-out-of-3 falls match at the ECW arena. After the match, the locker room emptied and the two were carried around the ring by their fellow wrestlers while the crowd chanted "Please don't go." World Championship Wrestling, 1989, 1991, 1995–2000. Early years, 1989–1995. Guerrero debuted in WCW in 1989 as a jobber, most notably wrestling Terry Funk. In 1991, he would return for Wrestle War, wrestling a dark match, teaming with Ultraman to defeat Huical and Rudy Boy Gonzalez. Guerrero returned to WCW in late 1995 along with Dean Malenko and Chris Benoit, with whom he had worked with in NJPW and ECW. During his first few pay-per-view events, he competed in dark matches against Alex Wright. His first televised pay-per-view appearance was at World War III, where he competed in the three-ring, 60-man World War III Battle Royal for the vacant WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Guerrero was one of the final 9 men in the Battle Royal, notably being one of only 2 men in the group to be under the age of 35, the other being the Giant, until he was tossed out of the ring by 4 Horsemen members. At Starrcade, World Cup of Wrestling in December 1995, Guerrero represented WCW in a WCW vs NJPW World Cup tournament, which saw him losing to Shinjiro Otani in the match, but WCW would go on to win the series at 4-3. Championship reigns, 1996–1997. In 1996, Guerrero received several shots at the United States Heavyweight Championship against Conan at Uncensored and Ric Flair at Hog Wild. He feuded with Ric Flair and the 4 Horsemen during 1996 after Guerrero's partner Arn Anderson turned on him during a tag team match against Ric Flair and Randy Savage. In late 1996, he feuded with Diamond Dallas Page after defeating him in a match at the Clash of the Champions XXXIII. He started feuding with DDP to steal his nickname of Lord of the Ring, but lost. Guerrero participated in a tournament for the vacant WCW United States Heavyweight Championship and defeated DDP in the final round at Starrcade to win the United States title in December 1996. In 1997, Guerrero defended the United States Heavyweight Championship against Scott Norton at the Clash of the Champions XXXIV, SYXX in a ladder match at Sold Out, and Chris Jericho at Super Brawl 7. His reign came to an end at Uncensored when Dean Malenko defeated him for the title. After losing the United States Heavyweight Championship, Guerrero feuded with Jericho, focusing on Jericho's Cruiserweight Championship. He challenged Jericho for the title at Clash of the Champions XXXV but lost. Guerrero demanded a rematch for the title. In the opening match of Fall Brawl, Guerrero defeated Jericho to win the WCW World Cruiserweight Championship. He dropped the Cruiserweight title to Rey Mysterio Jr. at Halloween Havoc in a title versus mask match where Mysterio's mask was also on the line. On the November 10 episode of Monday Nitro, he regained the Cruiserweight title from Mysterio, and made a successful title defense against Mysterio at World War III. After retaining the title against Dean Malenko in the opening bout of Starrcade in December 1997, Guerrero dropped the title to Ultimo Dragon the following day on the December 29 episode of Nitro. Latino World Order and Filthy Animals, 1998-2000. On the March 9, 1998 episode of Nitro, Guerrero's nephew Chavo Guerrero lost to Booker T in a match. After the match, Guerrero suplexed Chavo to teach him a lesson. On the March 12 episode of Thunder, he defeated his nephew Chavo in a match and forced him to become his slave. At Uncensored, Chavo was forced to support Guerrero when he faced Booker T for Booker's WCW World Television Championship. Guerrero lost the match after receiving a missile dropkick. Guerrero and Chavo feuded with Ultimo Dragon. Chavo lost to Dragon at Spring Stampede. At Slamboree, Guerrero defeated Dragon despite interference from Chavo. After the match, Chavo kissed Eddie and began to display insane behavior. At the Great American Bash, Chavo got an upset victory over Guerrero. They faced each other in a hair versus hair match at Bash at the Beach, which Guerrero won. Continuing to show his crazy behavior, Chavo would shave his own head while Guerrero looked on in disbelief. Guerrero saved Chavo from beatings by Stevie Ray, seeming that he would align with Chavo, but he wanted his release. Despite his success and popularity, Guerrero had been one of many wrestlers who were frustrated at never being given a chance to be main event stars in WCW. These frustrations came to a head when Guerrero requested that WCW President Eric Bischoff either push his character or give him a raise for family reasons. Bischoff responded by allegedly throwing coffee at Guerrero. However, in his autobiography, Guerrero states that Bischoff accidentally knocked his coffee off the table and that it was a complete accident that he was hit. Furious, Guerrero demanded Bischoff release him from his contract on a live episode of Nitro. Guerrero then left the company for a period of months, angry at Bischoff for what he had done. Guerrero later returned to WCW, leading to the belief that maybe Guerrero's angry speeches against Bischoff were actually a work. Guerrero later confirmed it to be a worked shoot. Guerrero would later contradict himself on WWE's DVD Monday Night War, claiming that he tried to put personal differences aside for the good of the company, yet found himself angry and outraged once more because of Bischoff's supposed continued refusal to elevate Guerrero and other similar wrestlers. He let Bryan Adams pin him and get an upset victory in a match. On screen, Guerrero responded to Bischoff's actions by forming the Latino World Order, LWO, which was a takeoff of Bischoff's New World Order. The group was an answer to Bischoff's refusal to push Latino wrestlers in ways they felt they deserved. The LWO was formed in October when Guerrero returned to WCW, with Hector Garza and Damian. The group eventually grew to encompass almost all the Mexican wrestlers working for WCW at the time. They mainly feuded with Rey Mysterio Jr. and Billy Kidman because they wanted Mysterio to join the group. He faced Kidman in a match for the WCW Cruiserweight Championship, but Mysterio interfered and helped Kidman win the match and keep the title. However, Guerrero was involved in a car accident on New Year's Day 1999 that cut short the LWO storyline. After his return on the May 31, 1999 episode of Monday Nitro, Guerrero became a founding member of the Filthy Animals alongside Rey Mysterio Jr. and Conan. They feuded with the Deadpool, Insane Clown Posse and Vampiro. They received 2 straight victories over the Deadpool at Road Wild and Fall Brawl. They next feuded with the Revolution, Shane Douglas, Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, and Perry Saturn. Guerrero was victorious over Saturn by disqualification in a singles match at Halloween Havoc. At Mayhem, the Animals lost to Revolution in a mixed tag team elimination match. When Vince Russo was fired as WCW Booker and replaced by Kevin Sullivan, Guerrero asked for and received a release from his contract on January 19. He signed with the World Wrestling Federation, WWF, in 2000 along with fellow WCW stars Benoit, Malenko, and Saturn. World Wrestling Federation, 2000-2001. Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, and Perry Saturn debuted in the WWF on the January 31, 2000 episode of Raw is War as the Radicals, interfering in a match involving the New Age Outlaws, establishing themselves as faces. During his first match with the WWF, a tag team match with Perry Saturn against the New Age Outlaws, Guerrero performed a frog splash off the top rope and dislocated his elbow when he landed the move. As a result, he was sidelined for several weeks. Guerrero and Saturn had originally been booked to defeat the New Age Outlaws, but due to his injury, Guerrero panicked and told Road Dogg, who was in the tag team match with Billy Gunn against Guerrero and Saturn, to immediately pin him. In March, Guerrero, who was wrestling as a heel, began pursuing the affections of Chyna, who he referred to as his Mamacita. At the time, Chyna was allies with Chris Jericho and initially rejected his advances. The night after WrestleMania 2000, on the April 3, 2000 episode of Raw is War, Guerrero faced off against Jericho for the European Championship. During the match, Chyna turned on Jericho and helped Guerrero win, and later explained her actions by declaring that she could not resist his Latino heat. After Chyna abandoned Lita to be attacked by the Dudley Boys, he and Chyna began a feud with Essa Rios and Lita, ending in a European title defense at Backlash, which was also billed as the night of Guerrero's prom. He was said to have just earned a get. Guerrero defeated Rios after arriving at ringside in a 1957 Chevrolet, even wrestling in his tuxedo pants and a bow tie. Guerrero turned face and successfully retained the title against former Radicals friends Saturn and Malenko in a triple threat match at Judgment Day, before losing the title to Saturn at Fully Loaded. The two slowly began to become popular with the fans, but over the next few months friction began to build between Guerrero and Chyna. Chyna was upset when Guerrero pinned her to advance in the King of the Ring tournament. Then at SummerSlam that August, Guerrero and Chyna wrestled a mixed tag team match against Trish Stratus and Val Venis, who at the time was the reigning Intercontinental Champion. The Intercontinental Championship was on the line in the match, and whoever scored the pin would win the title. Guerrero's team won the match, but Chyna scored the pin on Trish and became a two-time Intercontinental Champion. Although Guerrero said he did not mind that his partner was the champion, on the September 4 episode of Raw is War he went to WWF Commissioner Mick Foley and asked to be inserted into Chyna's title defense against Kurt Angle, claiming that he did not want Angle to hurt his Mamacita. During the course of the match, Angle knocked down Chyna with the title belt and Guerrero laid on top of her to try to revive her. However, this resulted in Guerrero accidentally pinning Chyna as her shoulders were still on the mat, and thus Guerrero won the match and his first Intercontinental Championship. Chyna became visibly uncomfortable as Guerrero began to cheat in order to retain his title, while Guerrero was upset that Chyna was posing for Playboy magazine, even trying to invade the Playboy mansion to stop the photo shoot. Just when it appeared that Chyna would leave Guerrero, he proposed to her and she accepted. At Unforgiven, Chyna helped Guerrero in retaining his title against Ricochet. The engagement was called off when Guerrero was caught showering with two of the Godfather's hoes. One was Victoria, claiming that two Mamacitas are better than one. Guerrero turned heel again as a result of the incident. Then, the Radicals reunited and feuded with the reformed D-Generation X, Chyna, Billy Gunn, Road Dogg, and K-Quick. They defeated D-Generation X at Survivor Series in an elimination tag team match and assisted Triple H in his match with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Guerrero was later defeated by Gunn for the Intercontinental Championship on the Thanksgiving episode of SmackDown. At Rebellion, Guerrero and Malenko lost to Gunn and Chyna. Benoit left the group to focus on a singles career while the rest of the Radicals feuded with Lita and the Hardy Boys, Matt and Jeff. At Armageddon, the Radicals defeated the Hardy Boys and Lita in an elimination tag team match. In early 2001, Guerrero feuded with Chris Jericho, Benoit, and X-Pac over Jericho's Intercontinental Championship. At No Way Out, the four men faced each other in a fatal four-way match, which Jericho won. Guerrero focused on the European Championship, feuding with the champion Test, defeating him at WrestleMania X7 to win his second European Championship with help from Saturn and Malenko. In April, the Radicals feuded with Test and his partners. Guerrero eventually left the Radicals, siding with the Hardy Boys and Lita. At this point, Guerrero developed an addiction to pain medication stemming from his 1999 car accident and in May 2001 was sent to rehab. To explain his absence, a storyline was created where Guerrero was injured by Albert in a match. On November 9, 2001, he was arrested for drunk driving and was subsequently released by the WWF 3 days later. Independent Circuit, 2001-2002. Guerrero started wrestling on the independent circuit after his release from WWF. On February 23, 2002 he faced Super Crazy on the debut show of Ring of Honor known as the Era of Honor begins to crown the first ever IWA Intercontinental Champion. Guerrero lost the match. On February 24, he debuted in the Australian promotion World Wrestling All-Stars, WWA, at the Revolution beating the champion Juventud Guerrera and Psychosis in a triple threat match for the WWA International Cruiserweight Championship. On March 1, he defeated the champion CM Punk and Rey Mysterio in a triple threat match for the IWA Mid-South Heavyweight Championship. He dropped the title back to Punk 1 day later on March 2. He vacated the WWA Cruiserweight title in April 2002 after returning to WWF. Guerrero also returned to New Japan Pro Wrestling, NJPW, for a brief period in March 2002, this time unmasked. He aligned himself with the Villainous Team 2000 stable, and primarily teamed with Black Tiger. Returned to WWF/WWE, 2002-2005. Los Guerreros, 2002-2004. Guerrero returned to the WWF on the April 1, 2002 episode of Raw, attacking Rob Van Dam. He feuded with Van Dam, defeating him for his second Intercontinental Championship at Backlash. After retaining the title against Van Dam at Insurrection and Judgment Day, he finally lost the title to Van Dam on the May 27 episode of Raw in a ladder match. Guerrero then feuded with Stone Cold Steve Austin, but Austin left the WWE before a match could take place. Chris Benoit returned to WWE the night Guerrero lost the title and reunited with him. Guerrero and Benoit feuded with Ric Flair for a while and Guerrero lost a match to Flair at King of the Ring. On August 1, 2002, Guerrero and Benoit moved to WWE's SmackDown brand. Guerrero feuded with Edge, to whom he lost at SummerSlam. Guerrero continued his feud with Edge, whom he defeated at Unforgiven. They then had a no disqualification match 4 days after Unforgiven on SmackDown, which Edge won, thus ending the rivalry. With Benoit focusing on Kurt Angle, Guerrero aligned himself with his nephew Chavo, forming the tag team Los Guerreros. In contrast to a previous WCW storyline with his nephew, Chavo fully agreed with his uncle as their slogan stated, "We lie, we cheat, and we steal, but at least we're honest about it." In order to push the new tag team, vignettes were produced, which included things such as the two finagling their way into a rich lady's house and throwing a pool party. These segments marked the beginning of the rise of popularity for the team, especially Eddie, who continued to use the mannerisms. The duo entered the 8-team tournament for the new WWE Tag Team Championship, sneaking past Ricochet and Mark Henry in the opening round, before starting a feud with the newly formed tag team of Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit. In one of the team's definitive moments, Chavo told Benoit that his former friend Guerrero was assaulted by his tag team partner Angle. Benoit ran to make the save, only to have himself locked inside a room. Guerrero then appeared in the room and assaulted Benoit with a steel chair. Benoit and Angle managed to overcome their differences and eventually defeated Los Guerreros in the tournament semi-finals. Later on, Benoit and Angle won the title. Benoit and Angle then fought for a trophy for being the first WWE Tag Team Champions. Much to Benoit's surprise, Los Guerreros helped him win the match. At Survivor Series, Los Guerreros faced the new champions Edge and Rey Mysterio and the team of Angle and Benoit for the titles. Guerrero made Mysterio submit to the lasso from El Paso to win their first WWE Tag Team Championship. They turned face due to their popularity. They lost the titles to Team Angle, Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin, on the February 6, 2003 episode of SmackDown. Los Guerreros and Team Angle began feuding with each other. Los Guerreros participated at WrestleMania 19 as contenders for the tag team title, along with the team of Benoit and Rhino. Both teams lost to Haas and Benjamin in a triple threat match. At Backlash, Los Guerreros lost to Team Angle in a rematch. 5 days prior to Judgment Day, Chavo tore his biceps, forcing Guerrero to look for another partner. He chose Tajiri, and they won the WWE Tag Team Championship, Guerrero's second and Tajiri's first at Judgment Day by defeating Team Angle in a ladder match. The following week, Guerrero and Tajiri managed to retain their titles by cheating. They also defeated Roddy Piper and his protege Sean O'Haire in Madison Square Garden. After Guerrero and Tajiri lost the titles to the world's greatest tag team, previously Team Angle, on the July 3 episode of SmackDown, Guerrero turned on Tajiri, slamming his partner through the windshield of his lowrider truck, turning heel once again. The next SmackDown, Guerrero said he did it because during the match Tajiri had accidentally hit his lowrider. Despite being portrayed as the heel, when Guerrero asked the audience if they blamed him for doing it, the audience responded by yelling no. In July 2003, Guerrero competed in a tournament for the WWE United States Championship. He managed to advance to the final round, defeating Ultimo Dragon and Billy Gunn in the process, where he would meet Chris Benoit. At Vengeance, Guerrero turned to his cheating tactics, hitting Benoit with the belt at one point in the match. Guerrero tried to get Benoit in trouble by placing the title belt on top of the unconscious Benoit. It did not work, however, since he knocked out the referee earlier with a championship belt shot to the kidneys. The match ended with interference and a gore from Rhino, Benoit's own partner, who was furious at the team's failure. Guerrero himself said that this was a major point in the character of Latino Heat, since he himself realized that the fans wanted to see him lie, cheat, and steal. Guerrero pinned Benoit and won the United States Championship. At SummerSlam, Guerrero retained his title by defeating Rhino, Benoit, and Tajiri in a fatal four-way match. He turned face again by engaging in a rivalry with John Cena. On the September 11 episode of SmackDown, Guerrero challenged Cena to a Latino Heat parking lot brawl match for the United States Championship, which Guerrero won with help from his returning nephew, Chavo. The next week on SmackDown, Los Guerreros defeated the world's greatest tag team to win the WWE Tag Team Championship, making Guerrero a double champion, beginning Guerrero's third tag title reign. Guerrero engaged in a feud with Big Show, which involved Guerrero giving Big Show some laxative-laced burritos and then later spraying Show from a sewage truck. The feud ended when Guerrero lost the United States Championship to Big Show at No Mercy. 4 days later, Los Guerreros lost the WWE Tag Team Championship to the Basham brothers, Danny and Doug. They began feuding with the Basham brothers, but failed to regain the championship at Survivor Series. As Los Guerreros attempted to regain the tag team titles, things began to go downhill between Chavo and Eddie, as animosity began to build. Chavo then attacked and turned on Guerrero after he suffered a beating from the Bashams. Guerrero feuded with Chavo and defeated him at the Royal Rumble to settle their feud. After the match, Eddie attacked Chavo, causing him to bleed. WWE Champion and Final Feuds, 2004-2005. When Chris Benoit jumped to the Raw brand after winning the Royal Rumble match, using his title shot to go for Triple H's World Heavyweight Championship, Guerrero won a 15-man Royal Rumble match on the January 29, 2004 episode of SmackDown, to earn a shot at the WWE Championship. After becoming the number 1 contender, Guerrero elevated himself to main event status and began feuding with the WWE Champion Brock Lesnar. At No Way Out, Guerrero defeated Lesnar in a shocking upset victory in the main event to win the WWE Championship. The victory made him a Triple Crown and Grand Slam champion in the process. His next feud was with Kurt Angle, whom he defeated at WrestleMania XX to retain his title in his first big defense. At the end of this event, Guerrero celebrated in the ring with longtime friend Chris Benoit, who had just won the World Heavyweight Championship. In March, he started a feud with fellow Texan John Bradshaw Layfield, JBL, after JBL interrupted Guerrero's title match with Booker T. The rivalry would soon turn personal when at a non-televised live event, JBL caused Guerrero's mother to suffer a kayfabe heart attack while in attendance at ringside. At Judgment Day, Guerrero defended his WWE title against JBL, retaining the title after getting himself disqualified, hitting JBL with the championship title. The match witnessed Guerrero bleed heavily midway in the match as a result of Guerrero performing a blade job after a stiff headshot ringside with a chair from JBL. It was later explained that he cut too deep, thus hitting an artery. After the match concluded, Guerrero went into shock and passed out backstage and was taken to a nearby medical facility. A few days after Judgment Day on the following episode of SmackDown, Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, and Rob Van Dam faced JBL and the Dudley Boyz in a tag team match. During the match, Guerrero, kayfabe, collapsed in the ring. In character, JBL with confusion played to the crowd as if he had no idea what was happening. Worried in that situation, JBL pinned Guerrero, forcing the referee to count to 3. Following fan backlash and uncertainty with lack of social media, WWE formalized that what happened was a way to emphasize Guerrero's blade job at Judgment Day and was indeed a part of the story, in their press release. At the Great American Bash, Guerrero defended the title against JBL in a Texas bull rope match. JBL won after Angle, who was general manager of SmackDown at the time, reversed the decision after Guerrero appeared to have retained the title. On the July 8 episode of SmackDown, Guerrero pulled a switcheroo with Shannon Moore, who was wrestling as El Gran Luchador and wore the costume. On the July 15 episode of SmackDown, Guerrero faced JBL in a steel cage match for the WWE title where El Gran Luchador appeared again and cost Guerrero the match. He later revealed himself as Kurt Angle. Guerrero continued his feud with Angle. At SummerSlam, Guerrero lost to Angle after submitting to his ankle lock. Guerrero then allied himself with Big Show. Each week Angle and his new allies Luther Reigns and Mark Jindrak began targeting Guerrero and Big Show. Guerrero defeated Reigns in a singles match at No Mercy. General Manager Theodore Long booked a Survivor Series elimination match between a team led by Guerrero and a team led by Angle. Guerrero's team consisted of himself, Big Show, John Cena, replacing the originally chosen Rey Mysterio, and Rob Van Dam. At Survivor Series, Guerrero's team defeated Angle's team. Guerrero, along with Booker T and The Undertaker, then challenged JBL for a WWE Championship rematch. Along the way, Guerrero found a partner in Booker T. At Armageddon, Guerrero and Booker's initial teamwork broke away, and the match ended with JBL pinning Booker following the clothesline from Hell. Afterwards, Guerrero and Booker briefly and unsuccessfully attempted to win the WWE Tag Team Championship. At the Royal Rumble, Guerrero entered at number 1 and lasted 28:11 before being eliminated by Edge. In a